voice of Fry, the voice of Zoidberg, the voice of the Professor, the voice of Bugs, the voice of Elmer Fudd. You know, it's just, ladies and gentlemen, Billy West.
Wow, thanks for being here. I dressed for you and everything. Yeah, this is great. We had a good crowd yesterday, and I'm honored by that. And I have everybody to thank for bringing Futurama back, how many times it had to come back. Really, I thank you because it was a force of the audience, totally. I mean, Fox was like, I don't understand television people, exacts and all that, but there was a commercial when the show was on the air. And this was typical. The announcer comes on at the end of a show and he says, stay tuned to Fox, Sunday night at 7 p.m., Futurama, 7:30, Malcolm in the Middle, followed by an all-new Malcolm in the Middle, followed by a brand new Simpsons. Remember, the fun begins at 7:30. I swear to God. And Matt Groening was the one who brought it up to me. He says, you wouldn't believe this, I'm watching the show. Oh God, you know, nothing makes sense. But I'm glad I'm here.
What of your characters stand out personally? Which of your characters do you enjoy doing the most?
I enjoy doing all of them, you know, because I put 1,000% into each character. I thought real long and hard about, you know, when someone entrusted me, a committee that came together, producers, directors, artists, writers, they come up with something, and then it's down to you, who's going to perform it. And it's like, I take it so seriously. I really do. I never fluffed through anything. I really deliberated about it. And so do they. And it shows, you know, when you see a good show, it means that everybody's on their toes. Everybody's at the top of their game, as much as you could be. And I loved all the characters because I was entrusted to create voices for stuff. Like, I was doing Nicktoons, and for Doug Funny, he was, you know, it was a sweet little show. And meanwhile, I was doing the devil's work on the Howard Stern show in New York while I was doing this sweet little show. You know, hey Robin, I just farted. You know, and then I'd go over to do Doug, you know.
He was a painfully shy 11-and-a-half-year-old, and this is my dog Pork Chop. And oh, here comes the cyberbully. That's right, I got a computer now, funny.
Roger Klotz. Yeah.
The Oracle office, vote for this!
And I did Nickelodeon Doug. I didn't do the Disney Doug. You know, I don't know what they were thinking. But I tried to watch it and I couldn't watch it because in my mind the character had been solidified. And I just couldn't do business with them. You know, it's nothing more than that, really. And it was fun kind of creating a voice because I'm not a kid. A lot of times they get a kid to do an 11-year-old kid. But, you know, all it takes is like 10 minutes and the kid is like now 20. You know, it just happens that fast. These kids come in, what happened to little kids? Well, he's dating, he's divorced, you know. You know, she's writing a book. It's very funny, but it does happen. And so they'll find women mostly to do like little kids' voices. E.G. Daily and Tara Strong, and you know who those guys are. And those are my friends too, you know, I hold everybody in such high esteem. All my colleagues, you know, Jim Cummings, Tom Kenny, you name it, Maurice LaMarche, Phil LaMarche. And you make really good friends with these people when you're on an assignment together, so it's not like you never see them again, you know. It takes a lot to try to organize 5 people to just meet somewhere, because everybody's so damn busy. And that's good. But yeah, you know, and then Ren and Stimpy, I saw the pictures. What are they, microbes? What are they, you know, what are they, insects? I thought it was a very abstract drawing. And then I find out it's a big brain-dead cat and a quintessential a-hole, you know, with all the qualities of like Jackie Gleason and Don Rickles, and then he's south of the border, so his voice is sort of like Chihuahua, you know, and he's an asthma hound Chihuahua, to be specific, to separate him from every other chihuahuas in the phone book. Asthma hound. Yeah, and I don't know what that meant, but and he had a Danish name, you know, Ren. What is it? Is that what it is? Yeah, and it was so crazy, but the guy that created the show, John Crispolucci, said, you know, I want you to do some voices, I want you to do these voices. And so Stimpy, I put, you know, the Three Stooges, when I discovered the Three Stooges, I stopped going to church. You know, honestly, I found my saints. You know, St. Mo and Larry and Curly. That's all that anything ever meant to me when I was going to school. I should have never gone to school, now that I think about it, because everything that was shoved down my throat would be totally non-applicable in the year 2016. I'm glad that I went out there alone. You know, it's cold out there alone because your friends don't know what you're doing. Back then, no one cared about the arts. You know, it was like a few people that were going to say, well, I have no choice. This thing came and grabbed me one day and I have to go with it. That's how it's not like you even choose stuff that you're meant to do. It just grabs you one day and you said, you know, you just say, I have to go with this. I got to go along with it. And I was not without my problems. I played in bands and I was a really serious drinker, and I was, you know, taking drugs and all that. It was kind of part and parcel to the lifestyle back in the 70s and 80s. But, you know, they took away my spandex license when I was, I don't know, 1978, that's what it was. Yeah, and you begin looking funny when you're approaching your mid-30s, you know, shaking your ass around on stage. You know, with young guys, and they were like, in other bands, they were like Viet Cong, they kept coming and they kept getting younger and younger. You know, so the writing is on the wall, what are you gonna do? And so I kind of went towards radio in Boston, and then I moved to New York and I did radio. But that's when I did start auditioning for stuff, and Ren and Stimpy was like a big thing. I had no idea that it was. You just, when you're in the middle of something, you have no idea like how people perceive it. It could be a cult thing that people go, you have no idea. What do you mean you have no idea? Look at that line going out of that bar. They're having a Ren and Stimpy watching party. And it was college kids back in 93 or 4. And they'd have Bloody Mary parties on a Sunday morning. And I said to my wife, I wonder what the hell, what are they giving away drinks? And I come in and I'm trying to look in and he goes, this is a Ren and Stimpy watching party. And I was like, get out. Get out, eh? You know. So, off. I didn't believe it. And then, you know, it just happened that way. But Stimpy was based on Larry from the Three Stooges. But Larry was, I couldn't have him sound like a depressed old Jewish guy. You know, I mean, you know, hey Mo, there's too much chisel on the tree. You know, and it's like so sublime and it's so nothing and it's so peripherally beautiful to me. Because it just, it was set apart from all the other voices. I found out, why does he sound like that? He's from Philly, and so was George O'Hanlon, the guy that did the voice of George Jetson. And they have this like plug somewhere between their, it's like mid-Atlantic, you know, because George Jetson was like, ah, come on, Janie, honey, the cleanest 500 miles away. It'll take an extra 5 minutes just to get there. You know, and Larry was like, you know, hey Mo, I peed on my shoe. You know, it's like there's some blockage in there. It must be the water, I guess. Or something in the hoagies. But I just was fascinated by that much detail. That's how much detail I put into everything I did. Is every molecule of a character that I thought was any good was there for a real reason. Even if the character appeared to be like, you know, chewing up scenery. You know, and so, you know, that was Stimpy, but I had to we had to speed up. They didn't speed up his voice technically, I sped it up so he could live in a cartoon universe and not sound like, you know, mein hernia, you know. So it was like, you know,
Hey, Ren, will you button me?
you shut up, you fool! Yes, I shall kill you! Thank you.
Yes.
Last question for me before we get into the audience questions.
Okay.
Are there any characters you haven't voiced yet that you would like to voice, or are there any characters that you've done that you'd like to revisit and kind of bring back?
Well, Futurama was my favorite thing I ever did. You know, and I got to play some really good parts on it. You know, Fry, that was what I sounded like when I was 25. You know, I was whiny and nasally, and, you know, I broke a string, now what are we gonna do? You know, it was like, he was, boy, you're a complainer. Yeah, well, everything just goes wrong for some reason. You know, I mean, I couldn't figure regular stuff out. I could figure out, like, you know, where A440 and perfect pitch and relative pitch and all that. I had that going on in my head, and I could figure out orchestra parts. I can hear them separately. And yet I couldn't figure out, like, well, bring some friggin' strings next, bring some extras. You know, but I just never, I was impractical. But that's what I sounded like, and, you know, he just became, you know, hey, did everything just taste purple for a second? You know, and, you know, man, all this constant exposure to radiation is making me thirsty. So it was kind of an adolescent voice, and I'm 65 and I can still do it. I read people saying, well, if Futurama comes back, what are they going to do about Billy West? You know, he's getting up there. And it's like, hey, dude, I'm a freak. I was doing that since I was 3 years old, threading out voices and noises, and nothing mattered. It didn't matter if I even blew my voice out. There was a third place to go. I would figure it out. You know, I didn't have a bass voice, but if I worked enough to create a chamber, like, you know, I don't know what you want to do, you know, and I don't really have that pitch, you know, you're gonna get in trouble, boy. You know, where did that come from? Everybody used to wonder that. What? Where does this come from? You know, and like hardly formidable, and but it was just out of sheer will. It was the idea to just get out of yourself completely and just occupy a character. Not just to imitate characters, but I did it with Bugs Bunny. And
Oh, and I got to work with Michael Jordan too, Doc. The closest thing to a religious figure that we had.
I got paid in carrots.
So good.
Million
So
carrots.
good.
Leave them out front. But Futurama was great. I got to do Fry, and Dr. Zoidberg was a combination of a couple of inspiration voices. One was a vaudeville guy named George Jessel. Vaudeville was around before there was television. And for pure entertainment, you could just leave your house in the morning and go sit in the theater till nightfall and watch 12 or 13 acts or whatever they had. All variety, all different, comedy, you know, Shakespearean. But that was like what people had. And there was this one guy that used to be like announcing acts, and his name was George Jessel, and he was a marble mouth. You know, you can look him up on YouTube. And he talked like this. You know, he had this stupid Yiddish joke, you know. Hello, Mama? Yes, it's your son George. From the money every week? You know, and it's Yiddishisms that kill me. I have such a love of language, I always did. And I threw that in with this guy. He was like, you know the definition of a smart ass? A fella that can sit in an ice cream cone and tell you what flavor it is. You know, that kind of cornball-y old stuff. And so I fused him with a guy named Lou Jacoby. If you remember the first Arthur movie, he leans into Dudley Moore and he goes, "What's it like to have all that money?" You know, and I said, this is so beautiful, and I smashed them together, and I wound up getting Zoidberg, you know. You need an autograph? Why not Zoidberg? Why not Zoidberg? Why should I do anything if I'm not signing autographs? Take it. You know. I'm scuttling. You know, beautiful character, and Zapp Brannigan was just based on a lot of big dumb announcers that I grew up listening to, and disc jockeys who loved their words so much that they would add more hamburger helper to it. You know, so they wouldn't have to let it go. They loved what was vibrating between their legs, you know. I love the sound of my voice far and away above everything else in this world. Yeah. You know, that little extra, you can't cut it off. It's got to be there. Filling the air with him. And I just thought, that's Zapp, you know, and careful, let the men. I made it with a woman. You know, pompous. And then there was the professor, who was a collection of doddering wizards and mad scientists, and, you know, you throw them all into one thing, and he was 147, so I thought he must have that, you know, when you probably get the weird palsy when you're about 108. You know, and then it just gets worse. So he had a rickety sounding voice, and I used to do that. No one cares what you do with yourself in a dark booth. But he'd be like, I don't want to live on this planet anymore. And it sounds like an old guy. It just sounds like a doddering old guy, and when he ran out of things to say out of frustration, they let me ad-lib, and one day I went, oh, fuff. And they like that. You could throw in stuff here and there, it would get in. I just made a joke about the opening of the show. I said, there should be a sign on the Planet Express building that says, sorry, we're open. And they put it in. It's so funny how stuff like that happens. But most of the stuff is right from them. They're brilliant, the writers were great. I had nothing but fun with that stuff. And it was the best writing I ever encountered because Fry had a line one time. The guy says, hey Fry, I heard beer makes you stupid. And he goes, no, it doesn't. They had a way, but I was like, David, no, it doesn't. Please read it as written. Okay, but I'll be back for the $9,000, fix-it fee or whatever it is. And so I read it, and then I watch the show. I see it on TV. I didn't get it, I truly didn't. And I see it on TV, and I'm like, ah! Ding! And it was the best acting I ever did in my life because I didn't know what I was saying, and neither does Fry. Honestly, that was the truest thing, the most honest thing I ever did in my life. And that's what was going on with that show. And like I said, thank you for bringing it back as many times as it had to be resurrected. But I do know that Matt is working on another show. And he's got something going and, trying to find a home for it. And I think he wants to use me and Johnny DiMaggio, Maurice Moore, I think. So I'm waiting for my phone to ring. 70, I'll be like, did you get that deal together? I don't care what happens. I'm glad to be alive, and I'm glad I'm working. I have immigrant mentality, my uncles and my grandfather and all those guys, they weren't happy unless they could work 18 hours a day because they truly believed that if they didn't, they'd go home and the house would be gone. Like an episode of Outer Limits, And there's a desperation to that, to want to be a provider for your kids and make sure that they're going to have a better life than you. And it was like that all the time. It's old world stuff. So I had that kind of thing, I decided that all I want to do was work. And all I did was work because I kind of put it out there. But I'll audition for anything, If they want to see you for something, it's like, well, what do you have to audition for, Because if you want to work, you got to audition. I'll show up and put on a dog and pony show for everybody, So that was with Futurama, but I think there's more brain trust coming from Matt and company. Yes, and I wanted to say I have a podcast, BillyWestPodcast.com, and there's some episodes up, like 10 of them maybe, and it's been described as meta-absurdist. I'll take the label, I don't care what they call it. Thanks.